Okay, so first I'd like to show you the actual components of the siphon pot. You have a lid that comes with the entire kit. You have the top component that has this rubber stopper right here, which basically makes an airtight seal between the two chambers. You also have the filter. Mine's pretty seasoned at this point. When it comes, it's a nice off-white natural shade. Mine's a little bit stained. And you basically drop it into the top of the chamber, and you pull it secure using this little metal piece at the bottom, which holds it in place. And then once you get some boiling water in the lower chamber, you stick it on top and press it down so that the seal is complete. The water basically goes into the bottom here, and I always start with water that has been pre-boiled in an electric teapot. Depending on how many cups you'd like to drink, usually if I make up to this number 5, that's enough for 1.5 cups for me, which is perfect for every morning. If I'm making for my husband and I usually make around 6, 6.5. If I have guests and I want to get the maximum amount of coffee, I go ahead and fill it up to 8. So here you see that I have my electric tea kettle. I'm going to go ahead and boil about 1 liter of water. It doesn't really matter how much you make, it just needs to be hot. And the idea is that you then put it inside this chamber and turn the heat on to medium, but I never actually do that until I have the water already in the chamber. While the water is boiling, I'm going to go ahead and grind my coffee. Today I'm going to be making this coffee from Joe Van Gogh, a local coffee producer. They toast their own beans. And I'm going to go ahead and make about 5 of these little scoopers. The scoop comes with the actual mill. And they call for 1 scoop per cup of coffee that you're going to make, and so in this case it would be about 5. But I like a really strong cup, so I usually go ahead and make about 6, sometimes a little more if I'm making even more cups of coffee. Okay, so it has finished grinding. This model also automatically stops grinding based on the amount. I had it set around 8 or so. So I'm going to go ahead and take the ground coffee out. It smells amazing, and fortunately around the same time that it takes me to grind the coffee, my water is boiling here in my electric teapot. I'm going to go ahead and set my top right burner to medium heat. Let it warm up. I'm going to go ahead and pour in the amount of water, which is for 5 cups. And the idea with this vacuum pot is that it's actually the steam that goes ahead and moves up into the top chamber, not boiling water. So you're going to be able to keep your coffee while it's being brewed at a point of just about boiling, which basically allows you to avoid a lot of bitterness and produce a much smoother cup without compromising the flavor. So you will see that the water is actually already beginning to move up, even though this bottom part is not boiling. It's just hovering at that temperature right below boiling. And the best cup of coffee that you can make with this system is to control this temperature and keep it from getting too hot so that this water doesn't boil. So I'm actually going to move it down slightly below medium heat. And I'm going to dump in my coffee grinds. There is still some water on the bottom of the chamber, so I know I need to leave it for a little bit longer. I'm going to go ahead and put on the top, although it doesn't really matter. It works whether or not there's a top. And you'll see that magically the water is moving from this bottom chamber up to the top chamber, and it's allowing us a lot of contact time with the beans. So most of the water from the bottom, you can see that it's moved up to the top chamber, but there will always be a slight amount on the bottom that doesn't move up. So if you're making a smaller brew, it's important to realize that it might taste slightly more watery. I think that's one of the reasons that I compensate by using more coffee up top so that it's a little bit stronger. And you can see that it's starting to boil on the bottom, and I really want to prevent that. You want to prevent any sort of boiling from happening up top. So I'm just moving it over off the heat just a little bit, trying to get as much water from the bottom to move up, but keeping that kind of stable, just below boiling temperature. And I think that this is just about as much water as I'm going to be able to get to go from the bottom to the top without boiling more. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my heat and just pull the pot off the burner. And because of the change in temperature, the pressure changes within the two chambers. And after a few seconds, about 30 or so, the liquid, the coffee on the top, is going to transfer back to the bottom. You can see the bottom's turning brown as the coffee's filtering through. So all of the grounds stay on top, but the coffee comes down to the bottom. But this foam that you get actually lets you know that you're getting to pretty much the end of the liquid from the top. You can see that we have the 5 cups of liquid that we put in the beginning. And then I usually take off this lid. And this top chamber is hot, but it's not going to burn your hands as long as you don't have it completely full. So you can pretty much just rock the top chamber off, and this actually usually helps move the rest of the liquid down to the bottom. You can put it into the stand and allow it to cool before you have to wash it. And here you have a beautiful pot of steaming hot, fresh coffee.